Welcome to First. I'm Shirley Min along with Michelle Polston and Mark Eichman. They're called MOOCs. This online learning, once reserved for colleges, is heading into the high schools. How does it work, and is it a trend?
Wilmington Mayor Dennis Williams is back on First. We'll talk about police body cameras and building a spending plan for the city.
And we introduce you to Delaware. It's our unique tour of the state and another excuse to say, Assawoman Bay. First, your public media news magazine starts now. May is AP Test Month. The advanced placement tests are given to high school students around the country who have done higher level coursework. The reward for doing well is college credit. It's been done in traditional classroom settings for decades. Our first look this week reports on changes to that approach. Delaware education reporter Avi Wolfman-Arendt is here with that story. Avi.
Thanks, Mark. The College Board offers more than 30 different AP classes, but most schools can only teach a handful. Delaware is part of a program that could expand access and give students a glimpse into the future of online education. Liz Bowman's second period accounting class at Caesar Rodney High School is about what you'd expect. The first few rows are filled with eager students listening to the lecture, and then there's the kids in the back row, totally tuned out.
We have this and this. They have to equal out, right?
But here's the twist. They're supposed to be tuned out. In fact, they aren't even taking accounting. They're taking AP Computer Science. And though Ms. Bowman is supervising them, she isn't their teacher.
I don't think that they viewed me as a teacher. I might be wrong. You can ask them because Mrs. Dovey is the teacher of this course.
Rebecca Dovey, on the other hand, is a computer science teacher, but she doesn't teach at Caesar Rodney. In fact, to talk with her, I had to get on a computer of my own. Hello.
Hey there.
Dovey lives in Richmond, Virginia, and runs one of the country's first MOOCs designed specifically for high school students.
This is just incredibly new.
Right.
We've been doing online instruction for a while, but this idea that you just throw it up and have so many students in the classroom at once is a very, very new thing.
MOOC stands for Massive Open Online Course. Like in regular online courses, MOOC students learn through video lectures and submit assignments online. But instead of one instructor teaching 30 students, there can be thousands of students in a MOOC.
It was a really great opportunity for students across the country to have access to this class that otherwise wouldn't get to take it.
The term MOOC emerged 7 years ago out of higher ed, and most MOOCs are taught exclusively via the web. Dovey's class is different, though. In addition to the online component, states and districts can pay for materials to help train an on-site coach.
For us, having that coach right there with the student makes a big, big difference because it just gives that personal touch of, someone checking in on you, and, someone knows you got sick last week and making sure you've got everything you need to get caught up.
In other words, it's like a MOOC with training wheels. Students still do a lot of self-teaching and self-learning like their college counterparts, but they have a little added oversight. Liz Bowman fills the coach role at Caesar Rodney, and that means she's trying to learn the material alongside the students. It's been challenging.
I'm recording grades, basically. So that's been, to me, the biggest struggle for the students is not having someone here that actually knows the course for them.
Dovey started her MOOC in 2013, but Delaware decided to offer it statewide for the first time this school year. 155 Delaware students enrolled in the course last fall. Only 88 are left. And those I talked to at Caesar Rodney admitted it's tough to learn when you're one of 1,000 and your teacher is hundreds of miles away.
I much prefer the traditional method. This has been really hard for me because I think I just need a little bit more human interaction. Even being lectured at in person is a lot different than being lectured at on the computer.
You have to have a drive because there's people who signed up for this course thinking it would be easy, and they dropped out a weekend because they couldn't understand it. And the people that are here today, they put in the work to do it.
For a student like Ryan Perez, there's a big upside to all that hard work. He's starting at Del Tech next fall and wants to major in computer engineering.
Yeah, this is kind of what I want to do.
Before the MOOC, he couldn't take AP Computer Science at Caesar Rodney. In fact, there were only 4 schools in the whole state who offered the course. Now there are 23. Liz Bowman says she's grateful her students have this opportunity. Not only are they learning vital material, she says they're developing a persistence and resilience that will benefit them when they get to college.
I couldn't be more proud of a group of students ever because of how hard this has been and what they've done to get through it.
Bowman told me that when the school year ends, she's going to throw the students a pig party complete with pulled pork and hot dogs. That's, of course, to thank them for being Delaware's guinea pigs during this online AP course.
Pigs, that's very good. So, Avi, as I understand it, not all of these students, though, take this course in class.
Right. So some of them take it at home, some of them take it during the weekend, some take it in the computer lab. The whole point is total flexibility. In fact, there's some schools where there's only one student enrolled in the class, but because of the format, they can make that work.
So how much did the state pay for this class?
They paid about $20,000, which if you think about it, that's way less than you pay an average school teacher.
That's the big question then. Will we see more classroom teachers replaced by these MOOCs?
Probably not in the near future. The idea, at least at this point, is to have MOOCs where you can't offer the class in a bricks and mortar setting. So that's like when you can't recruit a teacher or there's not enough students, like a critical mass, to justify creating a separate course. But 10 years from now, who knows? And certainly in higher education, there's a lot of debate around MOOCs. Some think they have the potential to expand access and reduce costs. Others think they threaten to, dilute the educational quality.
All right, thanks, Avi. Good deal. You can read more of Avi's education reporting at newsworks.org/Delaware.
Coming up, First Experience takes you to Dagsboro to meet a wood turner. And Delaware? Let's just say the show's best described as how the states got their shapes meets drunk history. A preview later on First.
We always enjoy Wilmington Mayor Dennis Williams' visits to First. He's our first person this week, and I hope it's safe to say that you enjoy coming here as well.
I do.
Okay, so that's good. Let's start off with policing business right off the top. You issued an executive order to study the implementation of police body cameras. It seems like the cameras, they've been here for a while. Why so long? Why the study now?
Well, those cameras were purchased under the previous administration, and I do believe that Ferguson and other areas of this country did spark my interest in me and the chief. And we sat down and we talked about it, and I decided to implement an executive order to study and get officers trained and implement that. And the cameras that we have now, they were purchased probably 3 or 4 years ago, they're probably obsolete. There's more modern technology now with cameras that you can't tamper with. If you tamper with them, it will send off some type of signal. It would come into the communications room. And these are the things we want. We want things that can't be tampered with or changed or altered, because this continues to bring us public trust, and that's what we want, public trust.
So how soon do you think the police officers will get to wear them?
I said probably by year's end, but it'll be sooner than that. I just don't want to put pressure on to rush to do something it's not done right. One of the things we want to do, we want to train the officers on the utilization of these body cameras, also have policy set in, and we also want to do demonstrations for the community so they'll understand how these work.
When it comes to the city murder rate, it seems like it slowed down as well. Do you credit Operation Disrupt for that?
Absolutely. I credit Operation Disrupt and the men and women of the Wilmington Police Department. They have been working tirelessly to get out there and do their job, building relationships in the community, working very hard to stop this. They feel pain too when this happens, because it's what they stand for. It's public safety, to protect and serve. And they are doing one heck of a job out there, rolling their sleeves up and going to work every day, not complaining, and working very hard.
Was there ever a conflict between the State Violence Commission recommendation and your plan?
Well, we started our plan back in January of 2015, to be exact, the 27th. All of a sudden, the commission came up in March, and I'm not going to jump to no commission with 111 items to do when we already have something that's working. We will study the commission like we've been doing, and we will have something coming out pretty soon.
Just curious, the death penalty in Delaware seems to be something that many people are passionate about, whether they're for it or against it. What's your stance on it?
Well, I tell you, as a former police officer, everybody can jump up and down and talk about they're against the death penalty. Why don't we talk to some of the victims who've lost their loved ones to murderers? And let's see where we go from there.
So you are for it?
Yes.
Okay. So you put together a fairly tight budget for next year. Have you been talking to City Council about possible changes that might take place, or are you pretty confident that your budget plan will move forward?
Well, it's a bare bones budget. We rolled it out there. City Council was a part of it from the beginning, and I hope they support the budget. I don't want another tit for tat budget fight. I don't have time for that. I have a city to run. I got to move on, and whatever happens, we'll see.
Speaking of that, what's your relationship with council now?
I think a lot better. There's several members I get along with very well, but as we speak, this is the political season. We have some people jockeying for mayor over there, and some of the things they do will be all political, but it's okay. This is democracy.
Yeah.
See you on the battlefield.
In 2012, during your campaign, you mentioned that 4 years from now, we won't recognize the city. Just tell me, what's the best thing that has happened to Wilmington from your point of view?
Well, we're slowing down this violence. We've made some changes internally. We're making more people accountable that work for the city of Wilmington. We're trying to make our city cleaner. As you know, I stated to you off camera, we have a new hotel coming. We have a lot of small businesses coming. We were ranked almost #1 in the nation for young entrepreneurs and young people moving to our city. We have the 11th busiest train station in the nation. We are working very tirelessly to make this a better city and to bring people to the table, and specifically young folks and baby boomers like myself. We have to bring a lifeblood in this city, and I think you're seeing the changes.
Who do you think, or who do you know of that's campaigning or would like to take your job, and does it bother you?
Oh, it doesn't bother me, but I would never say their name, give them some free publicity. I would never say it. I'm not worried about any of the candidates that want to run. This is the democracy again. This is what this nation's all about. This seat is not guaranteed to anyone. One of the things I made a commitment to all the years I've been in office. When I ran for the 4 years to be here until 2016 December. I'll look at the next one when it comes around. My commitment is not to run now for the next election. My commitment is to do the job that the people elected me to do for the 4 years. That's where most candidates make mistakes. They get elected and they already start campaigning for the next one. That's why they don't get anything done. If you look at most of those candidates' records who talk about running for office while they're still in office, they have never passed a piece of legislation. They haven't done anything. All they've been was the ones that's been in community media jumping up and down and pounding on their chest.
Well, it's always a pleasure to have you here on set. You're brutally honest, as always. So for those of you at home, this interview can be found in its entirety. When you click first person, go to newsworks.org/Delaware to view it.
You can view the entire version of First online at WHYY.org/First. Past shows can be seen there as well. Our e-newsletter was just delivered. If you want to learn more about what WHYY is doing in Delaware, just sign up. We'd be happy to send it to you.
We're entering the home stretch when it comes to building a Delaware budget for 2016. In our Dace on Business segment this month, Dace Blaskovitz talks with lobbyist Bob Bird about new sources of revenue that the state is looking at for the coming year.
Bob Bird, a heartfelt, sincere welcome back to WHYY.
Thank you, Dace. Nice to be here again.
You ready to go?
A lot of fond memories on this set.
You ready to go?
Yes, sir.
What is escheat?
Everybody thinks escheat is abandoned bank accounts, stock checks that don't get cashed, things like that. Delaware has been very aggressive. They've taken those and they've expanded it to doing audits of businesses' actual accounting books. And when they do that, they get into all kinds of things and define abandoned property much broader than just stock certificates and checks. And that's the issue here.
In the previous administration, you were the ultimate insider. And as the ultimate insider, you spent escheat money, every penny of it.
Yep, yes.
Fast forward, new administration, out with the old, you're on the outside looking in. As a lobbyist, you pick up an account, the organization for abandoned property, and all of a sudden you start claiming, so your critics say, that the state is being far too aggressive. In turn, these critics say, Bob Bird, you're a phony. You'll play for any team that pays you. What do you say to those folks?
I will play for any team that pays me, first of all. I remember when the state decided to change their policy on escheat in 2001 or 2002. And I was chairman of DFAC, and I remember I made some comments at a DFAC meeting that I think are on tape. And I said, we have to be very careful as we get very, very aggressive against these national corporations. You can't take $165,000 from all these corporations for the privilege of being incorporated in Delaware and then turn around and take millions out of their back pocket. Sooner or later, they will figure that out. And I said that in 2001 or 2002. We're now 10 or 15 years later, and the America's corporations have figured that out, and they're upset about it.
How does a collection of $200 million turn into the collection of $600 million, and how does that happen in a relatively short order of time?
By being very, very aggressive in our audit procedures. We now, and we started back in the early 2000s, of hiring contract auditors who go out and audit America's corporations, and when they do so, they do it and they get paid based on how much money they collect. So obviously they're going to be very aggressive, and I think one of the biggest things that happened was in 2002, we decided we would go back and look at a company's records for the last 20 years, which went back to 1981. We're still going back to the early 80s to look at this.
And you've been loud about the state being too aggressive.
Yes.
Is that where we're at?
Yes, have been for a long time. And, you know, America's corporations, they'd like to change the law. We've gotten a few law changes done in the last few years. We'll probably get another small bill done between now and the end of June. But I think more important than that is the lawsuits that have been out there.
All right. In turn, let's go a couple years ago. In reaction to that collection effort, this group, this abandoned property group, goes out and hires a lobbyist. They hire you several years ago. It's your story. Tell it.
You know, I got hired, and you know, we have been attempting to change the law. We have had some success. We now have an appeals process. We've done a few other things. They agreed to move the dormancy period, they call it, from 1981 to 1986. Hopefully we'll get that moved up again. That's how far they can go back. One of the problems here is that no corporation keeps books back that far. I mean, you're forced by the IRS standards say you have to keep things 7 years, at the most 10 years. We're going back, and we don't have books for that. The corporations don't have records for that.
Let's jump to current events. A judge gets involved. What's that all about?
One of the corporations by the name of Temple Inland has brought suit in federal court against the entire way that Delaware operates, and the judge has said that she will take a look at the case. So everybody, the state said, you know, there's no reason to look at this. The judge has said she will take a look at the case. There is a schedule going forward, so it's going to go to trial. And my guess is it goes to trial first of next year.
And here in the last couple of weeks, DFAC comes out and says, gee whiz, we're a couple $100 million short.
Well, as a reason, because of the court case and because of the agreement of the federal court to take a look at this whole issue, which they can do, which they're doing, companies that were in a mode of settling and going through the audit procedure and doing the voluntary assessment and those kinds of things, a lot of corporations have said, hey, wait a minute, we're not sure we want to do this just yet because the federal court's taking a look at this, so maybe we ought not pay our money just yet. And as a result of that, we've had to decrease the amount of estimates for abandoned property.
Last question. You have a dog in the race, but you're also a past chair at DFAC. Give us a guess, just an educated guess, 2 years from now, how much money is the state of Delaware collecting from Escheat?
I think one way or the other, either by law change or by a decision of the federal court, I think this $600 million is going to probably be cut in half, 300, 350, you know, in 2 to 3 years.
Bob Bird, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. A pleasure.
And don't forget, the Delaware budget must be finalized by June 30th. You can follow developments here on First and also through newsworks.org/Delaware.
After leaving the Navy, Tom Fry became an auto mechanic. Almost 30 years later, he got out of the business and turned to his passion, woodworking. Tom is a wood turner. He uses pieces of wood that many people would throw out. You can see all his artistry inside his Dagsboro shop. Check it out in our first experience.
I started this in 1987, sort of something I wanted to do and didn't know whether I could do it or not. And you know, you see a piece and you look at it, it looks a little clunky or something. And I didn't know I had an eye that I could do something gracefully. I was an automobile mechanic, say, for 30 years. We had to retool, and it was going to cost us like $40,000 to retool, and I did not want to go in debt again, so we just got out. And that's when I started woodturning. First decide what you're going to do and put a piece of wood on the lathe. It spins on the lathe. You got certain tools that you can put up there and you cut the wood. The wood is spinning towards you and the tool cuts it to whatever shape that you want. And they call it wood turning. I'm looking for anything that's very unusual that Mother Nature has worked on. I've had pieces that carpenter ants got into. And carpenter ants tunnel through the wood. They don't eat the whole wood, they just tunnel through it. And I've had pieces that's totally full of holes from carpenter ants, and it's just a unique piece. And to me, wood is warm. You know, when you pick up a piece of wood, it's warm, it's not cold. It's very relaxing. Sometimes you have to change direction of what you thought you were going to do with it, and you get a spectacular piece that you're not even expecting. And that's when it's fun. It gives me something to do, and to me it gives pleasure to people because they love the pieces. That's my reward. It's not how much money I can make. I'm not interested in making a lot of money. I've never had a lot of money, you know, and I'm not interested in money. That's not my thing. I'm here a short time on this earth, and I want to enjoy every minute of it, and this is what I enjoy doing. I get a lot of stories from people that's bought pieces and they come back the next year or so and tell me these stories, who they gave it to, and I get a lot of reward from that. They'll give a piece to somebody who just got married, and they will tell them, it's the best gift we got. It wasn't on our list. So, very rewarding to hear that. When the person buys the piece, you know they love the piece. And that makes a good feeling. You know it's going to a good home. You know they're going to really enjoy it. It's never boring, or not to me. And then to see it finished, it's really rewarding. When I'm dead and gone, I mean, my pieces are going to be here. It's fun.
It's quite amazing watching those ordinary wood pieces become something extraordinary. Tom Fry offers tours of his studio by appointment. You can also find his work at the Biggs Museum in Dover. Email him at tepwf62@gmail.com to find out more.
The second of our in-depth first extras airs Monday. We call it Delaware. There's a lot to say about this state. It's the only state with an arc for a border. One town even claims to be the center of the universe. Check out a sneak peek. Further south of Bear, things take a more sinister tone. Welcome to Slaughter Beach.
The name Slaughter Beach doesn't really want to make me go there. That doesn't sound like a good situation.
I have a niece who lives in Texas, and the first time I sent her a Christmas card, she said, Aunt Cynthia, how can you stand living at serial killer beach? I said, no, Slaughter Beach is pretty bad, but serial killer is a lot worse.
So how did this sleepy little beach community get such a vicious-sounding name? Some say it traces back to the horseshoe crabs that live and eventually die in masses on its shore. Jimmy Dalton dubs himself the unofficial mayor of Slaughter Beach. He's heard another theory.
I've heard a lot of wives' tales about there was a sailing ship that ran into foul weather out here in the bay and sunk, and it had a load of pigs on it, and the pigs all drowned, hence Slaughter Beach. But actually, I think the real reason behind the name is the first postmaster of Slaughter Beach was a gentleman by the name of John Slaughter, and the town was named after him.
Well, so much for the old adage, truth is stranger than fiction. But what about the Broadkill and Murderkill rivers? Violent names for tranquil places.
Basically, that's a holdover from our period as a Dutch colony. The word kill, it means river in Dutch. So the Broadkill was the Broad River.
Head even further south and you'll find a beautiful bay near Rehoboth. Welcome to Assawoman Bay. We stopped at the Frankfurt Diner to get some thoughts on the origin of that interesting name.
Assawoman Bay, yeah, and everybody looks at it like where'd you get that name from? Well, no, it's actually called Assawoman Bay, but as far as where they got it, no, I don't know where they got it from.
That's a good question. I don't know. I just know it's been that ever since I remember. I don't know.
I've had a few people that have certain, what is that?
I don't know, ask any woman, though. She'll tell you. What I've got on my mind, I don't want to share.
The actual G-rated answer?
We have a number of Native American names that are applied, particularly to rivers and streams. And the most notable, of course, would be Assawoman Bay, which is a beautiful spot and has had that name since long before Europeans came here for the first time.
As you saw in our first experience a few minutes ago, Delaware is filled with characters, and there are some great stories to tell. And this show really just scratches the surface of those characters and those stories.
You certainly found some good ones. Do you have a favorite person or segment from your show?
I really enjoyed everybody we got to meet putting this whole thing together, but if I had to pick a favorite, it would be meeting the Selbyville Swamp Monster, really a fascinating legend that really came to life in a kind of frightening way for a lot of people over 50 years ago.
Wow, well, you've certainly been working here in Delaware for over a decade. Anything new? What did you find out while working on this piece?
Really the way the state was made and became Delaware as far as the boundaries. There's a lot of legends about the wedge near Newark and what happened there, and there's a lot of tall tales, and really debunking some of those were really was something that I learned that was new, finding out what was just legend.
Okay, well, the show is called First Extra Delaware. It airs Monday at 9 on WHYY-TV.
So we're on Monday night, and then we're on again Wednesday at 5:30 and 11 with our kids special. The Delaware Children's Museum turns 5, and so it's a good chance to see what's new with the state of our children. And then next Friday, we check out a home building program in Georgetown that puts a different twist on the Habitat for Humanity concept.
We are very, very busy. That is first for this week. We thank you for watching. For Avi Wolfman-Arndt, Shirley Min, and Mark Eichman, I'm Nichelle Polston. Have a great week.